Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Concerned Citizen. My name is Matthew, and today we're going to talk about the presidential debate. It took me a while because I wanted to go through the Supreme Court decision, which is just crazy and ludicrous that you could give a president immunity for their official acts and what deems an official act. But anyways, before we get there, because, the recent Supreme Court decision on top of what happened in that debate, and I've had time to reflect, and I don't feel much different, to be honest. Just a disclaimer, I am a registered Democrat, so I was pleased to see other Democrats kind of pointing out the alarm bells, like, this is not good. I was like, thank God other people are being honest, because this was terrible. I originally did not even want to listen to this debate, because I was nervous about how Biden would do, because I knew how much was riding on it. And when there's high stakes, I get really nervous. I can't even watch like American Idol when they're singing, or just the comments. Back when Simon Cowell was on, couldn't even watch that show because I was like, I do not want to see a train wreck. And I was worried about seeing a train wreck with this debate. There was commentators before Biden actually went to do this debate that indicated, hey, his schedule is really heavy. He's traveling to Europe and then comes back and then goes back to Europe and then a week for prep for the debate. A lot of people were like really saying that he was going to do well. I was reluctant. So I think despite, even if those things are true, in my opinion, it doesn't really explain what we saw. And I saw some people say that the audience reaction is worse than it actually was. And I wish I could say that was true. I mean, right now, the way I'm reflecting today, witnessing it, and the stakes that we have, especially after the Supreme Court decision, which just furthers the feelings that I have, I just think it was that bad. So let's go into like the start of the debate. Biden's walking on stage. He's the very first one, and he's on the right-hand side of us, seeing him on screen. And I immediately became nervous because I saw how he walked on stage, very frail, watching each of his steps, saying, thank you to the camera. And then he started to speak, and I was like, again, clenching my butt cheeks even tighter and my heart sinking and my stomach sinking, and it's pounding on getting anxiety because his voice is weak. He's coughing. I was like, to me, I know they said it was a cold, right? And possibly so. But to me at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, he is a lot more frail than I thought. And there were concerns about like individuals who interact with him, how much control there is about those interactions, that he hasn't really had much press conferences because of the concern with age. And again, this is coming from somebody who's registered Democrat and will never vote for Donald Trump, because I couldn't even look at Donald Trump hardly at all. I hardly paid attention to Donald Trump because I was interested in seeing what Joe Biden had to say. And I think that heightened my observation of Joe Biden. And when he got his first question, and it was about abortion, it was not very clear. He broke it up, and I was like, already question one is really bad. And that left me with an impression immediately. And, this is your point to talk about what you want to do. It's like the overturning of Roe versus Wade. I believe still that it's, between a woman, her body, and her doctor for making that decision. And what we've seen, that the ramifications of this decision, unfortunately, do meet the worst case scenario and our fears, that it doesn't just stop at abortion rights. It goes into medication. It's going into IVF. It's going into individuals who need this, whether it's life or death situation. And it became very aggressive, and it's been a losing issue for Republicans, and they're just doubling down. So they're not for the people in this decision. And that exasperates the larger issue here, is that they are not for the people in other areas as well. It's all about greed. It's all about power. And Donald Trump represents that. And they bought into it because they're power hungry. So Joe Biden's about restoring that, giving the power back to the people to make their own choices, right? And taking away religion from being involved in these decisions. So then Trump says his piece, and we'll get into Trump later because I can't stand the guy. And Biden does a really bad job at retorting it. Because Trump said that, hey, they're doing abortions after a child's born. Well, first of all, I would, as Biden, because he says so many lies, Trump, is point out, well, I think that you can't trust the other side because, number one, there's lots of lies there. And I'm just going to point out one which is huge. Aborting after pregnancy is no longer an abortion. That is murder, and it's not legal. And this is representative of the larger issue with the Republican Party and the current candidate is manipulating and putting in fear and false information to people in order to meet their narrative. We are going to go based on facts. None of that is true. That is not taking place. And this is just the larger issue in regards to everything. Like, if someone is lying blatantly there, what else are they lying about? And what else are they willing to do for their own personal interest? Well, Biden didn't do that. It was really bad. I was really disappointed. To be honest, like when I saw him stop to think and then not really have an answer and then stop mid-sentence like he was trying to find his thought. And then he ended one of the questions just saying Medicare and then stopping. And then Trump pointed out, which was true, right? That, hey, I didn't understand what he said. Well, I didn't understand either. But I also knew that Trump was lying out of his ass. And it was very upsetting because, to tell you the truth, what makes me upset here is that Trump did bad. This should have been an easy debate to win against Trump, looking at his performance. So a lot of people left the debate saying, who won the debate? And I was like, you know who lost the debate? The American people. You know what? My better question is, who did worse? And as far as thinking about presentation and debate techniques and all of that, yeah, Biden did worse. Trump did worse in the area of facts, but Biden's performance was so bad that it was hard to focus on anything else. Biden became the main focus there. And it makes me upset because to perform that badly, also, let's not forget, of being prepped, regardless of a cold, right? If you were prepped and even over prepped, right, then you should have been able to pick up steam maybe later on. But it was just bad throughout. And it made me really upset. Before it was even over, I was like, we got to change this guy. I appreciate everything you've done. I appreciate that, but the stakes are really high. And it was really bad. So watching Trump, right, because Biden was terrible, like I said, and it was really disappointing and heartbreaking. And we'll go through the reactions. So watching Trump, to be honest, I was like, he looks really in control. This format really benefited him. Not having an audience, being able to be muted, because it allowed Biden to have the focus on him. Everything else was silent and focused on Biden like a magnifying glass. And this format did not benefit Biden. It appears that Biden interacts better with an audience because after he did well, but to me, regardless of that, I was like, okay, but you're going to have to run a presidential campaign where you're going to have to do interviews, you're going to be interacting with the press. Now more so than ever, they're going to want to interact with you and focus on you. And if you're not doing that, it's putting you in a bad position. So Trump was able to walk away pretty clear. I mean, after CNN did some fact checking on him and found that he lied a lot, obviously. And they did some fact checking on Biden, and I think that the area that Biden got wrong, and I don't think was necessarily lying, right, was with numbers. So that's the thing of like, he's trying to remember everything, and obviously his memory's not that great, it looks like, in regards to the prep that he did. So that was really bad. So then, like I said, I turned it off midway through, came back, got to see the ending of Biden's speech, and I was like, wow, this is pretty bad. It was, other commentators indicated, hey, it got better. I saw the end and the beginning. It did not get better. And I'm just being honest. I think at this point you have to be honest. And I think that other Democrats need to be honest too. I was happy to see the feedback coming through that there was lots of honesty, but I was worried that the longer we separate, the more that we're going to go into the same old of things. Because this is larger than Joe Biden. And my concern about like the post kind of debate and discussion, let's say discussion about the debate on the news, was like saying, hey, you know what? We got to focus on what we're doing here, which is fighting for democracy, which I agree with, right? We got to focus on that, he has Kamala Harris, that she's, really good. And I was like, okay, all these things, you have Kamala Harris, who they said it could really stand up to Trump in the debate. Okay, sure. But we're ignoring the fact that the one person that has to do this, who is the face of this, is Joe Biden. Like, you can have the whole package, like the fight for democracy, and I'm still going to like vote for Joe Biden if he's on the ticket. But my motivation has changed as a Democrat, at least for my vote, right? I mean, with the Supreme Court decision, it's reinvigorated me and got me angry and enough energy to say, like, I'm definitely voting not for Trump, against Trump, and I will vote for a candidate who's most likely to win. So it's not going to be a third-party candidate, so it's only going to be voting for the Democratic candidate, whoever they put out there. But I think that for Democrats, they really have to think, okay, you're going to have lots of people voting just for that reason against Trump, and especially with the Supreme Court decision, voting against Trump. But you need somebody also who is going to take those other people who are on the fence going, you know what, I really don't, it's not really a big deal. Biden right now has immunity. Trump does, even though Biden will not use it in the same way. But I just don't feel Biden's up for it, right? He's going to be 86 when he leaves. I just don't think this is it. And he doesn't really seem to be able to stand up for himself. He's not strong, doesn't represent. If you replace somebody else with that, I think that those remaining people who are not the people who are just going to vote against Trump and protect democracy, you need to get them too. I hope that also, with the Supreme Court decision, it reignites and invigorates people, especially younger people, to say, wait, what's my future? Like, to have somebody with this power. And I think that the Democrats, who sometimes, as a registered Democrat, disappoint me, they need to do more and push harder to get legislation passed. Like, we need to correct this. I mean, maybe I'm overstretching what can be done, but hey, the Republicans, especially in the Supreme Court, have revisited decisions that were already made and were considered precedent. So why can't we revisit this decision and reverse it, right? We need to be aggressive. Of course, the only way that's going to happen is Supreme Court leaves. I think we need to also think about what we can do from a policy area, right? Because maybe we need another amendment, maybe we need another policy, another law pushed to clarify what the presidents have and to limit the presidential power. Because it no longer feels like the president, based on the Supreme Court decision, is serving the people. It seems like he is our superior and tells us what to do. It's really scary, to be honest. And looking back at that presidential debate with this decision, it just puts additional focus and emphasis that, in my opinion, Joe Biden needs to step aside. There is too much at stake, in my opinion, to continue with Joe Biden. I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, it's not the right time. It's not that. Well, we we need to put a shot in the arm of the Democratic Party and their candidates and see what's going on. I just don't know, because I'm really scared about having Joe Biden continue. I'm still going to vote that way, and I see people are, but I don't think that's enough. I mean, you have other people who are really disengaged, and they're just not going to see the news about the Supreme Court decision. They're not going to know anything about Project 2025, which is, the Republican kind of plan for when Trump takes place, if he adopts it, and most likely he will, because it seems every step of this seems very premeditated. The Supreme Court decisions, how Mitch McConnell was very strategic in getting these justices, conservative justices, on the Supreme Court. I think maybe now's the time for Biden to maybe stack the court. It's like, F it. You guys are going to say, oh, this is unprecedented, this is breaking law. Did you see the Supreme Court decision? Did you get to see what you did with abortion? Did you get to see all these decisions? I'm just wanting the Democratic Party to not be sitting back and trying to go, oh, this is just tradition, this is the way things should be done. The other team is not playing fairly. We need to be aggressive. We need to be on the offensive instead of on the defensive. So that is my opinion there. And that debate left me really not feeling good. I couldn't even sleep. I grinded my teeth so bad that my mouth was hurting, because I was just like clenching so hard. And I did not feel good the next day. I'm still taking time to recover emotionally from it. And I know that there's Republicans who call Democrats snowflakes. I think that, someone said that Democrats are naturally pessimistic, right? I think it's always about worrying, and especially when you have an opponent as aggressive and as ruthless and just unhumane as the Republican Party, it is concerning. And it's really concerning that they have become what they are. I think before they could hide it, right, and say, oh, you're being a little ridiculous, we're not going to do that. Now they can just say it out loud. I mean, look at Project 2025, basically just calling out everything they want to do. Get rid of the Department of Education, strip the Department of Justice, fire people who are civil servants who have been in this job for many years, and replace them with loyalists, train individuals who are loyal to the president and MAGA, because last time they saw that, people, whistleblowers, brought them down in their corruption and stopped them from doing a lot of things to America and American citizens and screwing them over. Well, now, if he gets elected, I'm really concerned what's going to happen. It seems like Handmaid's Tale is becoming a reality, and it's not a world I want to live in. I think growing up to now, it's a huge culture shock of the state of affairs that we're in. I thought when Obama was elected, there was a huge hope that this country had gotten past was moving forward past the racism and the discrimination that it had. But what the country had shown, and especially the reaction and Trump coming into play, was, no, we are these people. This is who we are at our core. And not everyone is like that, but those people who gravitate towards him truly dislike other people because of who they are and things that they cannot control, which is their race, sexual orientation, gender, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, education. They're completely against that. And last point, I judge a person by who they associate with, and the Proud Boys, the KKK, all being on Trump's side, not a really good sign. So if you like the video, hit like, subscribe, leave a comment. Hopefully we'll get more hopeful news. hopefully from the Democratic Party, we'll get more hopeful news. I was a little disappointed, and like going a little past here. I was disappointed when I saw Joe Biden after, like on stage with Joe Biden, and he did a good job, and his wife goes, "Wasn't that a good job?" I was like, no, it was not a good job. And the crowd was like, yeah. I was like, what just happened? Like, why are we saying it's a good job? I mean, what else is she to say, right? But I was like, no, that wasn't a good job. No, bad job. Worst job. I can't even say how bad it was. I think my nephew could go on stage better. He would go, "Donald Trump, your duty head." And that would have been a better argument. I don't know. Thank you. Subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. Bye.